what's happening, everybody? Welcome. This is whistlekick Martial Arts Radio, episode 585. Yes, I said that way too fast. Today's episode, we are talking about career options for martial artists. It's going to be a lot more than just, hey, you could open a school. Goodbye. Andrew and I are going to unpack this for you. I think you're going to like it. Stick around. You probably hear Andrew's voice, his laughter in the background, filling out the sound, and well, I was going to say the screen, but that's not really a kind thing to say. But we are here in video as well as audio, joined by Andrew Adams. I am Jeremy Lesniak, and why are we here? We're here to talk about martial arts because we are martial artists. We're traditional martial artists who love training, we love the arts, and we love all of you. And that's why we do what we do. And you can see the whole list of what we do over at whistlekick.com. And if you make a purchase in the store, Podcast 15 is going to get you 15% off, and it's going to help us cover some of our expenses. Now, if you want to go deep on this or another episode, go to whistlekickmartialartsradio.com. That's where you're going to find every episode we've ever done, as well as videos, links, transcripts, a bunch more stuff. So go find that, check that out, and it's all under the heading of connecting, educating, and entertaining the traditional martial artists of the world. It's why we do what we do. We're passionate about it. Now, if you value that, yeah, you could buy something at the store. I already told you that, but you could also share an episode, tell a friend about what we're doing, leave a review somewhere, buy a book on Amazon, or support our Patreon, patreon.com/whistlekick. $2 a month, you're going to find out what's going on behind the scenes at Whistlekick. $5 a month, you get an exclusive audio episodes, a podcast. $10, you get to follow along with some of the semi-private video training modules that I am putting out. $25, you're getting access to the programs that we put out and books that we put out, tons of stuff. In other words, the more you're willing to throw our way, the more we're going to give back to you. It's all about value. So thank you. Andrew, welcome. How are you, man?
I'm great, Jeremy. What's going on today?
It's a bright, sunny day.
Yeah.
We were just discussing, listeners, viewers, we were just discussing the lighting situation here in my office and showing all the things that had to be done to reduce the glare off my forehead.
I don't have that luxury. Sorry.
No,
viewers.
You are bright. Do we need to get you a curtain? You know, you can wear a hat if you want.
I could, I suppose.
We're gonna get you a whistlekick hat. I think we need to do that.
I'll do the whole episode like this for view. Now, you podcast listeners, I'm not telling you what I'm doing. You have to watch it on YouTube. But I'll just do the whole episode just like this.
Now I want to know what's on the other side of that.
It was drum music.
Oh, you just told them what you were doing.
Oh, yeah, but they don't know what I was doing.
That's true. It could have been risque, because that's totally the vibe of this show.
Yep. Anyway,
turning martial arts into a career in some way.
Yeah. I thought this would be a fun one to discuss.
I like it.
And I think it's important to note that what we're going to discuss is full career, like your full-time job that you could do involving martial arts. We're not saying if you're a martial artist, you're not able to go get a job doing anything. You can do anything you want to do. And we are also not talking about the school, the dojo, or the instructor who has a full-time job doing XYZ and also owns his school. We're talking about you make your full-time living doing X.
Your main source of income.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's an important distinction, because I teach drums for a living, like how weird is that,
The skill sets that you develop in martial arts are applicable to a wide variety of things,
Yes.
Find me an employer who doesn't want their employees to be more disciplined, more self-sufficient, better communicators.
Yes.
And in better physical health, etc. Right? Like those are things everybody wants. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, let's start with the most obvious example, starting a full-time martial arts school.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
That's the obvious one.
Being a school owner.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Being a school owner is like, obviously, if you're going to make your living, you have a unique skill set as a martial artist. How could you use that skill set? You could own your own school or tour the country teaching seminars. That would be another one that you could theoretically do.
That's a really hard one. There are a lot of people who would want to do that. But what has to happen before you can do that? You have to have something to teach that people want to learn. And I'm sorry to say, given the current climate, maybe not climate, given the saturation of the world with
Mhm.
options of ways to spend your time, you have to carve out your own niche.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I think the careers that we're going to discuss, they're not just careers that everyone will be able to do who is a martial artist, but they are careers that will be easier if you are a martial artist. Like,
It,
yes, teaching seminars around the world is an incredibly difficult thing to do, but if you're not a martial artist, you're going to have an even more incredible
it would
time.
be hard to teach a martial
Much
arts seminar as a non-martial artist. That is
exactly.
absolutely true. I'll give you that one.
So the two obvious ones I came up with on my list, because I'm, as you know, Jeremy, I'm a list guy.
I like
Under
lists.
my obvious categories: school owner
Mm-hmm.
and seminar instructor. Like,
Yeah.
you would have an easier time doing those things because you were a martial artist.
Yeah. And I'd like to throw one more on there.
Mm.
And I think it might not be as obvious to some of us here in New England because we tend to come from smaller population areas. Thus, a lot of the martial arts schools we have are smaller. To those of you in larger metro areas, you may not realize that uh, for a lot of us, a martial arts school that has 50 students enrolled month to month is actually larger than average, at least in northern New England. But that role is full-time instructor because you can be a full-time instructor without owning the school. And there are schools, especially again in larger metro areas, where you will have multiple full-time staff because there are hundreds of students.
Yep. Yep. And I think the last one, well, this one kind of blurs the line between obvious and fairly obvious, would
Mhm.
be like a group training instructor for like yoga, or
Mm.
you could run classes at the local gym on cardio kickboxing or some sort of fitness instruction. I think you have as a martial artist, you have a unique skill set that would help you do that type of job.
Yeah, and I can speak to that personally. I spent years, kind of off and on, and it's currently off, teaching fitness, gymnastics, etc. Once you know how to manage a class, you don't need a lot else to get it done.
Exactly. Yep.
You need to know a little bit more than the people who are training, and you need to be able to, most importantly, identify where they can improve.
Yep. Absolutely.
And I think that is a skill set that martial artists have far beyond most people when it comes to physical disciplines. The ability to dial in and nitpick, find nuance. There's our favorite word, Andrew, to find those little areas where they could improve. And this is the thing that I went back to time and again with the things that I taught in the physical space, because after decades of martial arts, what am I best able to do? Identify movement patterns.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I have a good friend of mine who is a gym owner, but taught gymnastics for a long time, who also is a martial artist. And so you're right. They very much can go hand in hand.
Yeah, I agree. What's
Yeah.
next? What else you got?
So within the fairly obvious category, I had a couple of others that okay, yeah, that makes sense. Being a bouncer at a bar, or a bodyguard for a specific person, doing some, or security, some type
Yeah.
of that detail oriented, being mindfully aware of what's going on around you, I think.
Yeah. And we've had a number of people on martial arts radio who have worked in security in some respect. And what I find interesting is for people who have never worked in security, and I've worked security a couple times, and by security, I mean in college, I stood with a shirt that said staff, or rather security, in front of people. Yeah, I worked security at a Naughty by Nature concert. That was like,
Wow.
woo. Yeah, I stood there with somebody else standing 6 feet from me. That's how intimidating I was. They put people on either side of me, really close by. But I'm making light. But what is the most important part about security? It's observing and identifying problems,
Being aware.
and being aware and making sure those problems don't fully transpire. Avoiding the situation, squashing the situation before it happens. And that's something that most martial arts schools talk about, hopefully, ad nauseum when it comes to the self-defense curriculum.
Yep.
If you look into personal security, which there are a number of programs and people teaching this specifically to martial artists. You open a martial arts magazine and you're probably going to see at least one ad saying, hey, do you want to get into the high paying, exciting world of celebrity security? Come to our weekend long course and we're going to teach you. And yes, there are times where you want a 6'9", 340-pound monster protecting someone.
Mhm.
But that person also can escalate situations by their mere presence. And so
Absolutely.
if you look at celebrities, you look at the Secret Service, you look at people who do this for a living, they tend to be much more incognito.
Absolutely. Yep, I would agree. So the next one, again, anybody can do these jobs, but martial artists have a skill set that would make it maybe easier. Would be stuntman or an actor, right? Because you're going to be able to move your body in a way. You're going to, as in terms of stunt stuff, you're going to know how to fall better. You're going to know how to move your body in that way. And an actor, you're just going to have a skill set that other actors might not have.
Right. And we've had a number of stunt people on Martial Arts Radio. They've talked about that journey. And it doesn't mean that in order to really go far in the stunt world that you don't need additional training. You absolutely do.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a lot to be said for that. Where do stunts come in? It's TV and movies. And it tends to be in some kind of dramatic sense. You know, there are people who get set on fire or go through car crashes and jump off things. But there's also a lot of combatives. You look at most TV and movies, there's a fight in there at some point, and quite often there will be someone doing that stunt work.
Yep, or choreographing that stunt work.
Or the choreography, absolutely. It's something that I think is really fun. I've done some choreography. I've been on both sides of that, not anything professional, but I think it's a ton of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make sure things look good on camera.
Yep. And the last two I have in my fairly obvious category are police and military. You know, again, there's more training that you would need, but I think the discipline you received from your training will help you if you decided to be a police officer or join the military, any branch.
And I would say that a lot of that comes from the fact that martial arts, at least in the way that we teach it and practice it today, does have some military tradition instilled in it. The regimented aspect, the lining up. I mean, you can swap out the uniform for a different kind of uniform, and you know, it's looks pretty darn similar.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are ones I had that were fairly obvious.
Okay.
You know,
most people are probably with us up till now.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a hard left now.
Well, not a hard left, just
Okay.
a slight. We're gonna bear left. We're gonna bear left at the fork in the road.
Okay.
I could make a Fozzie Bear joke right now, but I won't.
All right.
So semi-obvious.
Mhm.
When I say them at first, you Jeremy might be like, okay, but others may be like, huh, I don't quite get that.
All right.
Being an EMT or a firefighter, anything where stress or high stress is involved, where you need to be able to quickly keep your composure and be able to make decisions. I think martial artists have a skill set that help them with that.
Making choices under pressure, decisions. Absolutely.
Yep.
I will completely agree with that. And that's something that is inherent, I think, to the self-defense training that a lot of martial arts schools have. The high stress adrenaline response, you know, fake altercation, 2-on-1, you know, whatever. Hopefully you've been through some of that. If you haven't, you might be lacking a bit if you are presented with a high stress situation.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll agree. I've never been an EMT. I don't do gross. I've never been a firefighter, but honestly, I've thought about it for similar reasons to what you're talking about. It would be interesting to me to be involved in that.
Yeah, and I mean, any paramilitary organization, I think, would benefit from the skill set that a martial artist would have.
Absolutely.
And so I think that, you know, that once you realize that there is a direct correlation there, I think you see that, okay, yeah, that does make sense. And then my last list is jobs that are not obvious.
This until is hard left?
Yeah, this is the hard left.
Okay.
A job like pawn shop owner.
Okay. I'm not saying no, but I'm not seeing it.
So my friend Angela, who I've mentioned on the show in the past, brought this up to me. She is a vintage reseller,
Okay.
and she is often has found herself being comfortable being in a situation because of her martial arts, and not
Mm,
and not being in situations that she doesn't feel comfortable because she's been mindful. Essentially, any interaction where there is one-on-one interaction with a person where money is involved,
mhm,
she has felt safer because of her training being in a situation having to handle money with another person.
mhm.
And I think and pawn shop owner would be along the same lines.
Yeah.
Person comes into the shop, you're haggling over money. I think having the
Mhm.
wherewithal and the mindfulness to look at your surroundings can absolutely help you in that type of environment.
And there is a kind of security aspect there too if we follow the cliche, right? There's money, pawn shops, any kind of environment where you are buying your goods from people coming in off the street
Yep.
tend to deal in cash.
Hmm.
And thus, if there's a lot of cash around, it can be higher stress. These are, in some areas, actually, even in our small area, the places I know like this have bars on windows,
Yep.
right? This is a place where you've got to be aware, you've got to be secure, you have to have a certain defensive mindset that is not exclusive to martial artists, but is more common among martial artists than not.
Correct. Yep. You will have the mindfulness to notice things in that situation.
Yep, I'm with you. Okay, you changed my mind.
All right. Good.
What's next?
That's what I had. That was on my list.
Okay.
So I'm interested if you have other ideas.
Yeah, yeah. I think if we stay on the track of stress, I think
Hmm.
there are a lot of things that are high stress that qualify that prepare people for certain roles. Anytime you are up in front of a group. So I have known a number of martial artists who were successful DJs.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
I was one of them. The ability to read a crowd and work the energy of the crowd, to speak when appropriate, to let things happen when appropriate. Shout out to Shihan. I think he might have received a promotion. Pardon me if the title is no longer correct. Andy Campbell. He's been on the show. That was early on too. Throwing it back there is a wonderful DJ, and is that's a job that he has done for years. Um, what else happened? What else where people get up in front of crowds? Just kind of your master of ceremonies,
Hmm.
presenter. We've had a few people on who have given TED talks and
Sure.
lectured, presented information in that way. There are a lot of martial artists who are teachers because for similar reasons, their ability to manage a group, their ability to convey information, not
I
get
don't.
bogged down in stress.
I don't know why I didn't put that on my list because that's
It should be
super
obvious to
obvious.
you.
Yeah. Oh, so silly.
um, and what was the other one I had? Oh, we have had a bizarre number of people involved in technology and IT come on martial arts radio.
Hmm.
And my thought there is that it may not be that they are more qualified to do IT because of their martial arts stuff, but it could be depending on the situation. If anybody has worked what I would call break fix IT, it can get really stressful, especially when you have a client breathing down your neck. When is this going to be fixed? But there's a certain mindset. There's a problem solving mindset, and if
Yep.
some of us approach our martial arts from a problem solving mindset, how do I spar with this person who always gets me with this movement? What do I do to surpass that, to overcome that challenge? Uh, does that bring anything to light for you? Any other professions that might have sparked?
I mean, the other thing that I have seen a lot of is musicians who are martial artists. That
Mm,
comes up a lot. I don't know that I don't. It's tougher to see the correlation there, other than um, as a musician, you often have to have a detail oriented brain to, whether you're playing guitar to get chords just the right way, or like
Mm.
the practicing regime to be a musician. But professional musician is incredibly difficult to do. But then again, so is seminar instructor. So I mean, I
Right.
think musician is up there as well.
I think the last one that I'm going to throw out, and if you can't tell, listeners, viewers, I'm kind of doing a mental check through of people who've been on martial arts radio and thinking about what they have in common. Writer. We have had a large number of people who write, and not just martial arts. People who write novels, people who write history, people who write all sorts of things. Why? I'm guessing it's because writing requires a tremendous amount of discipline.
Yep. And there's a lot of thinking involved when you write. And I think if you're a martial artist, you're often using your brain to think of things as well. So I can see a correlation there.
Yep. And then I think the last one that I'm going to throw out is consultant, which is really broad and requires an additional skill set. But I believe all of us know something. We know things really well, and the ability. If you spend a lot of time in martial arts, you've probably spent some time instructing martial arts, even part-time, even to a small group. What do you learn as an instructor? The ability to convey information in different ways.
Yep.
As a consultant, that's one of the things you usually have to do, because you not only have to come up with solutions, but you have to get buy-in from the people paying the bills that this solution makes sense. You are constantly working for your own job. You have to convince people that your job is worthwhile on a daily basis, unlike a more conventional job. So that, coupled with your, whatever your other skill sets are, I think could make a lot of sense. Now, my main takeaway from this is, hey, getting good at martial arts and learning martial arts skill sets helps you in just about everything.
Absolutely.
But that wasn't the point here. The point was, okay, I'm a martial artist. I've spent a bunch of time. I want to make martial arts more of my profession, but maybe I don't want to open my own school because it is not an easy way to make a living.
Very true. And my takeaway as well, as this is not what you should do. This is what you could do. Yes. Chase your bliss. I say that all the time.
Ooh, I like
chase
that.
your bliss. Do what you want to do.
Yeah. And I'm sure that we missed some things. So this is a great opportunity to remind people that we have a Facebook page, Whistlekick Martial Arts Radio Behind the Scenes, that you can join. And we post about these episodes, and sometimes we get some good conversation. You can also pop over to whistlekickmartialartsradio.com and leave a comment under the episode, because that's an option. You could, if you don't want to share publicly, you could share privately, and I'll share with Andrew. You could email me, jeremy@whistlekick.com, and any feedback on this or topic suggestions, anything like that, we're game. We want to hear it. All right. Is there more, or should we roll out here?
No, I think that's good. We've got a pretty extensive list, and would love to hear more from others if they have ideas.
For sure. All right. Well, check out the show notes, check out transcripts and all that other stuff. Sign up for the newsletter, support the Patreon, make a purchase, follow us on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and that's all that's relevant. Oh, Pinterest. We are on Pinterest too. I forget to talk about that, but we're over there. And I'm going to look at my notes.
We need a Snapchat.
I haven't figured out a good way to do Snapchat for Whistlekick. I got some stuff brewing for TikTok, though. We're thinking about TikTok right now.
All right.
As an aside, completely unrelated, if you enjoy silly animal videos, TikTok is the most efficient way to consume silly animal videos. I love it. How can you support us? Share an episode, leave a review, buy a book, Patreon, make a purchase. If you see somebody out there wearing Whistlekick on something, say hi. I told you how to get a hold of us, jeremy@whistlekick.com, and that's it. So, Andrew, with me. Until next time, train hard,
smile, and have a great day.